the co-working door that logged him in, the night the keycard proved polite. At 9:09 p.m., my inbox shook my hand and told me my partner had arrived without me. "Access granted," the subject line said, cheerful as a maitre d' who knows your alias. In the body, Leo tapped into DeskForge Marais at 9:03 p.m. Guest added, "Nathan, meeting room, Fjord, enjoy your evening." Under it, a gray italic like a shrug. "You're receiving this because you manage the account." Convenience and trust share fonts. Tonight they didn't share loyalties. Leo had left at 8 in the jacket that flatters him even when mirrors get evangelical. "Wrap toast," he'd said, 2 words that make celebration sound audited. Then notes with Nate. "Don't wait." Nate does sound. He carries microphones like small animals that forget they bite and listens the way air does when it's taking minutes. The cinnamon thing in the oven had been making a case for mercy since 7. Our light climbed the wall in obedient squares and refused to narrate me. I put on the jacket that knows how to mind its own business and walked. DeskForge Marais is the kind of place that names rooms after landscapes to make people feel like they have horizon. Brass behaves at the door. Plants audition for maturity. The front desk smiled with the learned mercy of a person who has practiced centuries of privacy in a short shift. I held up my phone. She scanned and let the small gate decide whether I was the sort of man who deserved his own access. The corridor to Fjord smells like coffee that has forgiven everyone. Through the glass I could see the room already failing at being neutral. The table had 2 glasses sweating politely. A takeout box acted like innocence. On the whiteboard, someone had written a time code and circled it twice, the second circle tighter, the way emphasis starts to look like possession. They weren't kissing. I wish they had been. Adults are easier to resent when they're careless. They were laughing too quietly. Leo leaned back in his chair with his shirt open 1 notch beyond daylight. Nate sat on the edge of the table, ankle hooked over knee, those long engineer hands bracketing a waveform on his laptop as if he intended to spare it a consequence. He's handsome in the way competence is: clean lines, believable verbs. Leo saw me first. There's a half-second at the beginning of surprise where the truth shows up without its coat. I watched that arrive and failed to find a hook. "Max," he said, my name with the softness of a receipt. "Your door says hello," I said, because humor is the leash I use to keep panic from bolting. I held up the email. The little bullet points pretended they were chores. Nate didn't apologize. He did something better. He slid off the table and cleared the distance between us in 2 steps without touching me or my partner. "I'll give you to the room," he said, which is the kind of sentence that believes in verbs. He unplugged his laptop carefully, folded the cord like a treaty, and left with his cup as if dishes could be diplomacy. "Not here," Leo said, eyes flicking to the ceiling corner where a camera pretended to be a moon. He tipped his head toward the staircase to the roof terrace, a triangle of air where the city forgets to be judgmental. "There's weather." We climbed a flight past murals that wanted to be advice. The terrace wore Paris like a borrowed jacket. The wind took a position and kept it. Leo braced his palms on the rail and opened them as if unfolding a plan he no longer wanted to execute. "I lied when I left," he said. He doesn't waste adjectives when he intends to be correct. Rap happened. People did their best grammar on goodbye. I wanted 30 minutes where being interesting didn't have to pass inspection. Nate listened like silence was a profession. I mistook that for permission. "Are you sleeping with him?" The question is a cliff. There isn't a scenic route. You count to 1 and make your mouth earn its keep. "Not yet," he said, clean, immediate. Then lower, the honesty that knows exactly which muscle wants to bruise. "I brought my mouth." The wind turned my collar into a question and left it there. I stepped closer because cold is an argument I can win. I lifted 2 fingers to the soft place inside his wrist where men keep their apologies and felt his pulse write my name there without permission. His eyes closed like doors that expect hands. Under my palm at the small of his back, where his body keeps its best arguments, heat had already bought a seat. My hand remembered the route. You like wanting that proves something kindness can't, I said. I didn't make it cruel. Cruelty is lazy precision. You treat intimacy like a sport and honesty like off-season training. You like to coach, he said, one corner of his mouth auditioning a better room, which is unfair and also why we still have furniture. What do you want? I asked. Right now, not the apology you drafted for daylight. He stepped into the inch that becomes a lie if you respect it too long. Heat crossed cotton like a fact. He spoke close enough that punctuation found my lower lip. I want to go home, he said. I want you to want me where our towels remember us and desire doesn't need a key card. We didn't kiss where a camera might enjoy itself. I put my thumb at the hinge of his jaw, the place truth keeps a spare key, and let the city pretend not to admire us. Then we went back down 2 flights the way men do when they are trying not to be dramatic but failing politely. In the room, someone had wiped the whiteboard like a conscience. The takeout box had been stacked in the bin with the kind of accuracy that gets people promoted. The door clicked behind us in that gentle way that records without comment. Nothing happened, Leo began, which made me angry because it's almost true. We worked. I ordered food because people need to be fed to concentrate. He told me a story about drums in Dakar, and I liked how it made silence smarter. I wanted to be interesting for 30 minutes without our history chewing on me like a wire. Music isn't consent. Listening isn't an invitation, I said. It came out calmer than I felt. You asked the room to be a different version of home. It can't. It has a keycard reader. He breathed, which is all you can ask of a body that has been caught misusing nouns. I know. He knows. He told me I was saying the sentence in the wrong room. We left the building without touching the walls. The guard held a door without assigning adjectives. Outside, the city decided not to narrate us. We let it be wise. We walked the long way home because short routes are for people who mistake adrenaline for courage. The cinnamon had kept faith beyond the call of sugar. We ate it at the counter with our fingers because forks would have lied. He leaned into the drawer that sticks, the posture that means he's willing to be moved and wants me to be precise about where. I slid my palm under his shirt and found heat like an address that still prints both our names on the mail. He tipped into me, gratitude giving him weight and accuracy. We were careful in bed, not the kind of careful that kills heat, the kind that knows where to fold it so the room won't have to testify. He knows where to set his hand on my ribs so the rest of me turns without issuing a press release. I know where his shoulder hides when it runs out of brave, and how to coax it into telling the truth with weight and breath, and a mouth that has stopped trying to rescue him and still wants him. I won't diagram the choreography. I'll tell you the room remembered to breathe, and morning forgave us because it had other work. We slept like people who aren't finished. Light shouldered the blinds with the confidence of a suggestion. He made coffee the way he does when he wants me to listen. The access email lived between us on the table like a witness that didn't understand jurisdiction. Guest added, Nathan kept behaving like a bullet point instead of a heartbeat. He started with small truths because small truths keep larger ones upright. I like how he hears, he said. I like rooms that don't remember our mess. I wanted to be wanted without needing to be forgiven. He lifted the phone and turned it face down, which won't save anyone and sometimes helps. He stopped me. He said I was saying the sentence in the wrong room. Do you want to be here? I asked, because people mistake apologies for verbs. Yes, he said, to be boring with you on purpose, to put the heat where the towels remember us, to earn mornings instead of trying to audition for them. We made boring plans because boring is how you keep lives from becoming memorabilia. We removed my manager role from the account so emails stopped sending me polite knives at 9 p.m., turned off guest access with a password we share, and wrote a rule on the back of a grocery receipt. If one of us craves 30 minutes of attention not from the other, call it craving, not crisis. Walk it by the river. Spend it on pastry mean enough to bully your mouth away from metaphors. It isn't romantic. It's maintenance. It's oil for the hinge that keeps the door from learning to shout. 2 afternoons later, I found Nate on the curb outside a studio that smells like ambition and lemon, the city's favorite lie. He gave me the nod men use when they've chosen to be furniture on purpose. We stood under a poster promising to rescue strangers in 98 minutes. I'm not waiting for thanks, he said without preface. He kissed me once. I told him he was saying the sentence in the wrong room. I like my sleep, and I like not discovering I'm the villain in somebody else's morning. You could have told me nothing, I said. You could have imagined worse, he answered. This makes both our lives cheaper. He looked past me at the traffic, the city's waveform. You don't need my testimony, but if it steadies you, nothing worth deleting happened. It steadies, I said, and found that it did. No absolution, just flooring. We didn't become friends. We became men with a shared interest in someone else's better decision. There are worse treaties. A week later at 9:09 again, as if the hour had applied for tenure, the account sent another note. DeskForge is hosting a mixer. Bring a guest. Across the room, Leo was already shaking his head with that small, honest smile that moves furniture. He reached, paused, kept his hand hovering open, palm up, not insisting, a question without a mark. I put my hand in his because sometimes symbols deserve overtime. Then I hit unsubscribe and wrote home in the little field that asks for a reason. On certain nights when the city forgets to be clever, his mouth finds mine with the urgency thunderstorms claim and the patience laundry requires. We stay just on the lawful side of the line because good heat doesn't need choreography to be true. When it's done with us, when we are done with it, he rests his palm at the small of my back like a bookmark that always knows the right page. Sometimes an app still sends me summaries in smug fonts. Accessed, 0. Guests, 0. Notes, 0. I don't trust them. I trust the square of light at 4 when it climbs our wall like an idea that finally put on shoes. I trust the bowl that catches our phones like obedient coins. I trust the way his hand finds my ribs without asking for permission from rooms or keycards or emails. And if a door ever tries again to log him in without me, we'll do what we did the night the keycard proved polite. Find air, choose kissing over theater, walk home with my palm resting on the part of him that knows the address, and keep teaching this door, gentle, stubborn, local, to open from the inside. 2 small footnotes, because lives adore encores. First, I changed his contact from Leo to Leo, home. Hyphens don't perform miracles, they do administrative grace. When my hand forgets itself at 3:17, the dash persuades it to put the phone down and reach for an actual person. Second, I kept the original email, the tidy rectangle that lists guest added, Nathan in a font that thinks it's helpful, not to punish us, to mark the hinge where the night swung. Proof that a polite door can be a better witness than a mouth, and that 2 men, stubborn enough, can choose a kitchen where nothing needs a badge to be allowed in.